We are live. Today's topic is Arctic Frost. Now, Arctic Frost is a FBI program that was started under Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray started Arctic Frost to silence conservative voices. There are whistleblowers coming forward that say that Christopher Wray started Arctic Frost with the focus of investigating 92, repeat that, 92 conservative outfits. Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action were one of the targets. Armed Queers is not on that list. Armed Queers is a Antifa group that Tyler Robinson was a member of. So while we can say that Charlie Kirk was targeted by Arctic Frost, he was also targeted by Armed Queers. Armed Queers and Arctic Frost are not connected. Tyler Robinson went to Cuba to Armed Queers training camp in May, where it is widely reported that the focus of the training camp was to train queers how to shoot and how to combat fascism. And this is disturbing that this is not being covered by any mainstream media outlet. None. Zero. And it's because, hey, Anthony, they want to set a certain narrative. And the Charlie Kirk being unalived correct narrative is against their narrative. Thank you, Anthony. The correct narrative, as laid out by the county DA, is that Tyler Robinson planned to unalive Charlie Kirk because he hated Charlie Kirk. And he said in a Discord message to his trans lover that some hatred cannot be debated out. Hey, Capybara. He said some hatred cannot be, my word is debated out. Meaning that he felt the only way to silence Charlie's voice was to unalive him. How screwed up is that? That someone thinks that just because your opinion is different than theirs, that the only option that they have is to unalive you. We have free speech rights in this country. All of us have our right to our own opinion. What Pam Bondi said over the weekend about hate speech being illegal is not correct. all speech in this country are protected unless that speech contains a call to action of violence. So if you sit there and say, you know, I hate you for what you say, agreed, Anthony, you're covered under the First Amendment. But if you say, I hate you for what you stand for and you should be unalived, or something to that effect. Hey, Skippy. Yeah, Ruby Ridge was bad. I need to do a stream on Ruby Ridge, on what actually happened and what the government's involvement was. Right, Cappy. No one should die over their opinion. And the fact that you had people after the fact going on social media and saying that they were happy that this happened should upset us all. You know, I know Democrats. I have Democrats in my family. They're not radical left Democrats. They're moderates, what they used to call blue dog Democrats. Yes, Anthony, you're correct. I saw it too. And it's appalling. And, you know, one of the things I pointed out on X this morning is that because of Pam Bondi's actions over the weekend, that she should be fired. Hey, Captain. Because what she did was she called the former employee of Office Depot and told her that they were going to go after her and prosecute her for a hate speech crime. Well, Office Depot did the right thing. They fired her. She no longer works at Office Depot. And Pam Bondi called her the day after she was fired and threatened to prosecute her. That's not right. That's how Britain ended up in the mess they're in right now, where they have no free speech rights. That over the past year, 2,200 British citizens have been arrested and put in jail for things that they say online. We cannot let our country go down that road because that is anti-free speech. And we just cannot do that. You know, I'm glad that the whistleblower has come forward and told us about Artic Frost, because we can now investigate Artic Frost and look at the 92 separate Republican organizations that Christopher Wray was targeting to prosecute, to silence Republicans. Hey, Aditha. You know, I never did like Christopher Wray, but I couldn't quite put my finger on why. I always felt that he was kind of two-faced. This proves it. You know, when you set up a program, he called it a project, I call it a program, where you investigate 92 Republican organizations and 0 Democrat organizations, that is a problem. Message Noku. I don't know what that means. It's unfair. Well, let me reword that. Christopher Wray went in front of Congress. Thank you, Matthew. And he lied. He should be investigated for lying to Congress, because he said, we at the FBI don't do that. We don't target individuals because of their politics. Right, Captain. And I talked about this in my stream the other day on free speech. I said, we have free speech, but you always have consequences. And I used this example. I said, let's say that you work for a company and they are getting ready to sign a contract for multi-millions of dollars. Hey, Marquette. And you go online and you post that you are happy that Charlie Kirk got unalived. And someone sends that to the customer. And the customer shows up for the signing and shows your boss what you said and says, cancel the contract, and walks out. You can be fired for being toxic to the corporate brand, because you just cost that company millions of dollars. And you can't turn around and say, I have free speech, because you weren't fired for your speech. You were fired for being toxic to the corporate brand. And I said, good luck getting another job if you've been fired for being toxic to the corporate brand. Now, do I think that everyone should get fired for that? No. But I think that you should be held accountable, properly accountable, for things that you do and things that you say, and that's not by the government. The government, in my view, has no business trying to charge someone with hate speech violations when we don't have hate speech laws. Our Supreme Court said that all speech is protected, even hate speech, unless it is accompanied by a call to action of violence. So what the employee at Office Depot said was not a call to action of violence. What they said was false and improper. They said that Charlie Kirk was a political figure, and that their corporate policy is, we don't print propaganda. And the person there said, this is not propaganda. This is flyers for a vigil to honor his life. Correct, Anthony. It's happening all over the world. I did a stream about a week or so ago because of what they call the grooming gangs in the UK. And I would encourage each of you to go and watch that. It is shocking, the things that the UK government is allowing to happen to little girls. We're talking 12 to 14-year-old girls. they are allowing it. My proof was that 2 weeks ago, there was a girl from Dundee who this Pakistani was following, and she confronted him. She told him, "We know who you are. I will defend myself." And he kept walking towards her, and she picked up a hatchet and a knife, and she said, "I will defend myself." She was arrested. She was arrested for brandishing a bladed weapon. Her friend that was there went on TikTok the next day and said, they're trying to bury what is actually happening. She said, that guy was approaching her, telling her things like, "Hey, you look sexy. Hey, this. Hey, that." And she said, we both told him that this is not okay. What you're doing is wrong. And she said, he told me to mind my own business, that this was none of her concern. And the government has been allowing this to happen there for almost 20 years. Thank you, Anthony. Yes, the true Brits are rising up. I watched Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally on Saturday, and the mainstream media over there tried to say that only 1,000 people showed up. That's a load of bullshit. The camera showed that the street, a 2-lane street, was wall-to-wall people as far as the eye could see. As far as the eye could see. That's more than 1,000 people. I would say over 1,000,000 people. Right. And Tommy Robinson said something interesting Saturday. He said, in the UK, the things that Charlie Kirk was doing here in the US, he would be put in jail for. By talking to the students and debating the students, he said open debate is not allowed in the UK. Which I think is really sad. And at the same time, it's frightening because that could very well come here if we're not on our toes and we don't pay attention. Because in Canada last week, they voted to approve the anti-hate speech reforms that are in place in the UK. It's just shocking that you have government officials literally killing free speech. Agreed, Mariah. He spoke his faith just like everyone else, and he didn't do it in a mean or condescending way. He did it with love. He always told them, I love you because Jesus teaches us to love everyone. And I don't think that Sure, Mariah. I don't think that we can just stand idly by. Right. I agree, Captain. I don't think they should be arrested. You know, I think the focus should be if you broke an actual crime. Okay, death row is a punishment. The Bible also says an eye for an eye. And a lot of scholars believe if you take someone's life, then your life being taken as punishment is justified. My view is the death penalty should be for extreme cases. Yes, the Bible says do not murder. Agreed, Anthony. Please keep the chat respectful. Okay, so I'm going to use this analogy. Okay, and it's not pro or anti death penalty, it's just a focus. Okay, in China, there is no drug problem. Do you know why that is? I didn't mean that for you, Anthony. I just meant in general, keep the chat respectful. In China, there is no death penalty because they execute the drug dealers. If you're found guilty of dealing drugs in China, you are executed. There's no appeal, nothing like that. You're given your sentence. 30 days later, the sentence is carried out. Agreed, Captain. Hate is easy. You know, I think that we need a total revamp of the college system in this country because college professors are teaching these young kids to hate. They're teaching them to hate. Just this morning, you had the University of North Carolina. They put up a statue to remember Charlie Kirk, and this morning they had students there vandalizing the statue, and the college said they're expressing their freedom of speech. We're going to let them do what they want. Craig, they're not teaching them to learn. They're teaching them to hate America, to see what they've done is, we tried to stamp out CRT. CRT taught there's two classes, the oppressed and the oppressor. They told black students, you are oppressed, and told white students, you are the oppressor. You should feel sorry for what you did to this black person. Correct, Captain. Vandalism of something that isn't yours is illegal. And the college saying that they had a right to do it is not right. That is what's happening. There's been numerous reports over the past several days that these college kids are being taught to hate America. They're being taught to hate capitalism. And they're being taught to hate white people. There was a poll done over the weekend by YouGov. 65% of Democrats say that unaliving someone because of their opinion is okay. 65% of Democrats. They didn't learn that from nowhere. Someone is teaching them that. That is real. On X yesterday, there was a repost of a lady talking to her children the day after Charlie Kirk got unalived. And she said, these are two children that are like 8 and 10 years old. The mom says, something great happened today. What do you think happened today? And the 8-year-old girl said, Donald Trump got killed. Hey, Cameron. That's right, Cameron. It is happening. And see, the problem with the Democratic Party, Mark Halperin said this over the weekend. He said, if Turning Point USA connects with the MAGA Republicans, he said, the Democrats will never recover. He said, because right now, the Democrat leadership thinks that Charlie Kirk meant nothing to Republicans. He said, I tried to tell them how much he means to Republicans, and they told me to basically be quiet. So if those two connect together, that's what's going to save this country. Hey, Kansas City, Missouri. All right. Craig, Charlie will not be forgotten. Today, Turning Point USA announced that Erica Kirk is now the CEO and chair of Turning Point USA, and it was a unanimous vote. Said that over the past year, 2 years, Charlie came to them and told them, if anything ever happens to me, I want Erica to run my companies. And Charlie also said in a podcast right after he got married that Erica is more conservative than him because he had her on his podcast. Hey, Victor. And she asked him, she said, which one of us do you think is more conservative? And he looked at the camera and looked at her. He said, you are by a long shot. So I'm glad that they did the right thing and they voted to make Erica the heir apparent to Charlie. So that's what I got for y'all today. This was a little bit longer than what I usually do. I usually try to do 10 to 15 minutes, but we had a lot to talk about and a lot to discuss, didn't we? If you liked what you heard, please like and share the video and subscribe so that we can pass this out to others. Yes, and I'm working on a separate stream that's going to be about, I'm trying to put this all together. Thank you, Cameron. Because there's a guy, now I don't know this guy's name, but it's the same guy that predicted Trump would win in 2024. At that same session where he was making predictions, he predicted Charlie Kirk's death. He didn't name Charlie Kirk by name. He said, there's an important young man that will be taken down in the prime of his life. And he said, I see a beautiful young lady with soothing eyes that will take over in his spot and will unite the country because the left and the right will unite together, that the left that come back to God will unite with her. He may have. I have not heard on him for several months, and I saw that video the other day, and I thought, wow. I was just really, really impressed. So we will be back tomorrow about the same time. I usually try to do a stream during the day and then in the evening. So we will talk to you then. Take care. Bye for now.